I'd like to start out this week by thanking our members for contacting their legislators to encourage them to co-author Senate Bill 18 and House Bill 1483. To date, Senate Bill 18 has 15 co-authors and House Bill 1483 has 42. We're not quite all the way up to the number of co-sponsors that we would like. On the Senate bill, we would like 21, and on the House bill, we would like 100. But we're making good progress, and we hope to continue that process. This is going to be a big week this next week in eminent domain because we anticipate that the House Land and Resource Committee will meet to hear a number of eminent domain bills. This will include House Bill 1483 and House Bill 4. Farm Bureau will definitely be there to testify on these bills that we need to include good faith negotiation, attorney's fees if it's not good faith negotiation, and adequate compensation, including diminished access. We will also be testifying that we do need tighter public use definition in statute. To show the abuse of diminished access and how important it is that we correct this abuse, I'd like to illustrate that with one case. As you know, when TxDOT takes property and they do take your access, they do not pay for that taking, even though the property you have is decreased in value. On the flip side, if you want access, they charge you for it. One example is this business down in Houston where they had an appraisal done on how much more the land is worth with access. And in fact, that land was worth $872,000 more. That was just for having two driveways. So, TxDOT actually charged that business $872,000 for those two driveways. Now let me point out, that's not actually buying any land, that's just buying the right to have that driveway. So, TxDOT takes the land for free and turns right back around and sells it for a pretty penny. That's just not right, and that's one of the things we're going to try to correct this session.
The TxDOT Sunset Bill has finally been introduced. The authors are Representative Carl Issett from Lubbock and Senator Glenn Hager from Katy. As part of the sunset review process, state agencies are reviewed by the legislature every 10 years. And after a very intense interim study, the 12-member commission has come to some pretty significant conclusions. And the biggest determination is the abolishment of the Texas Transportation Commission. In its place, the bill would call for the creation of the Texas Transportation Commissioner. This would be a one-person position appointed by the governor, confirmed by the Senate, to replace the existing 5-member commission and the position of executive director at TxDOT. This person would serve a 2-year term and be responsible for the entire transportation policy of our state. Texas Farm Bureau policy calls for the accountability of the selection for the commissioners of the Transportation Commission. By the creation of a one-person position, that accountability will be significantly hindered. For this reason, Texas Farm Bureau is very concerned to see how the bill is going to progress through the legislative process over the next several weeks before its final product. Another highlight is that it would create rural planning organizations. This is similar to the metropolitan planning organizations that are in the various urban sectors of our state. And these MPOs create transportation policy boards that contribute to the discussions of transportation policy development. By the creation of a rural planning organization, rural Texas will be at the table and be able to help contribute to the negotiations and the decisions to best determine how to connect all of the modes of transportation across our state. Lastly, the bill calls for the creation of 2 new divisions within TxDOT. The first is the Department of Motor Vehicles, and the second is the Rail Transportation Division. Certain duties that are currently being executed either by DPS or TxDOT would be transferred to the Department of Motor Vehicles in hopes for better efficiency. The purpose for creating a rail transportation division is to oversee and coordinate all of the different rail proposals that are being created through the different entities across the state. There is not an existing central location for all of these rail proposals to come through in order to best connect all of the different proposals across the state. We expect to see many modifications made to these concepts and the overall bill over the next several weeks before the final product is voted on. Rest assured, we'll be very involved in the process in order to best represent Farm Bureau's interests, and we'll also be sure to keep you informed.
Representative Warren Chisholm has filed a bill dealing with carbon sequestration, House Bill 2872. What this bill will do is actually create a framework for the state of Texas for trading carbon credits by making the Texas Soil and Water Conservation Board the state entity to work with agricultural producers on carbon sequestration. Now, what the bill will do is, first of all, if you want to be an aggregator, somebody that goes around and basically works out the trading of the carbon credits, you'll need to be licensed or certified by the Soil and Water Conservation Board. As well as whenever they're trading these carbon credits, somebody has to go out and actually verify that the practices are being done out on those agricultural properties to sequester the carbon. And the job will fall to the soil board through the local soil and water conservation districts to be the ones to go out and actually verify that the carbon is being sequestered. There's also a piece of water legislation I want to talk about as well. Senate Bill 2120 by Senator Kel Seliger and the companion bill to that, House Bill 4656 by Representative John Smithy from Amarillo. Now, this bill it's a troubling bill because it's taking local control away from groundwater districts and putting the Texas Water Development Board into more of an oversight role over those districts. Currently, districts do a management plan, and that management plan is sent to the Water Development Board to be reviewed, but currently the review is basically just an administrative. It's not a substantive review. That Senate Bill 2120 will change that. It actually requires that the Development Board do a substantive review of the management plan, which of course means that they're going to sit in judgment over whether or not that management plan is going to provide for good groundwater management by that district. And we think that that's a little close to getting the Water Development Board in a role of telling local districts what they have to do. In addition to that, Senate Bill 2120 also requires the state auditor's office to go in every 5 years and conduct a management audit of the local district to determine whether or not they're doing their job in managing the local groundwater. So again, you've got a state entity coming into a local groundwater district and basically sitting as judge and jury over whether or not they're doing a good job. And from a Farm Bureau perspective, we support the local districts, we support local control, and we don't want the state of Texas coming in and telling those districts how to do their jobs.